Facebook. Cool. Man, all right. You should be tagged. You should be good. You and the Miss Facebook family, what's happening? Man, seems like it's been a minute, brother.
Mm-hmm.
We took off last week because of Mother's Day. That was a last minute fake, because not fake, but a last minute like move, because I forgot that we got mothers in our family, and we probably shouldn't be doing this while we got people at my house. So, so we took off last week. It's good to see y'all, though, that's for sure. For those of you who will be joining us, thank you for doing that. Seem to be getting a fair amount of views on the stuff that we do, so that's cool.
It's because of you.
No, it's because of you, brother. They see this. They see this big brother.
Nah,
they like,
you're the popular one, man. You're popular, man.
We want to be with
I'm
the
infamous.
bishop.
You're popular. I'm
We
infamous.
want to be with the bishop. So yeah, man. So it's as I always say, man, it's always good to be in your presence, brother. Anytime I get a chance to hang out with you, I love to do that. You empower me. You make me stronger. I feel like you do what a Christian brother is supposed to do for another Christian brother. I think about when the Apostle Paul, he refers to the churches that he oversees and stuff. And one of the things the affections that he has for the people he cares about is, man, whenever I think of you, I pray for you. And
Amen.
you know what I mean? And that's the way I feel about you, though I'm not pastoring you or nothing, but the idea of just knowing the type of things that you're involved with. I posted a picture last week of you standing in front of the microphone, and I was thinking,
I saw that. Yeah,
man, and thank you for just all of that.
Two boys.
Down there talking about the young brother Cannon. Cannon.
Yeah,
is that his last name?
Last name Cannon.
Trinell Cannon. Yeah, that got beat up by the police. Socked up.
Yeah.
Distraction blows is what they call them. I don't know who needs 100 distraction blows with 7 people on them, but what I was thinking about today, man, that I thought was really cool was, and I just wanted to say, man, I wanted to do a count of how many churches are in San Diego.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and I know there's a lot.
Oh yeah,
there's probably 200.
Yeah,
right?
No, 200,
500,
way more. 2,000. You got thousands
in
San Diego.
Okay,
churches in general.
That's even worse.
All different denominations. Yeah, you got thousands, man.
So one of the things that I see when these actions happen, though, is I just wonder where a lot of those brothers are and sisters from the church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess I just say that to say, man, thank you for being there. You know what I mean? That means a lot. It says a lot about your heart. So thank you for that, man.
Man, thanks you too, bro. Because I think it it's mutual, and it goes back to each other. With everything you say about me is the same way I feel. I was thinking about it today because you made me think about some things, and because I'm one of those persons, if a person brings something negative to me, I'm blocking you off quick. You said, no, let's have a conversation. You have a right to consent. What they call it, the dissent or whatever. You have a right to do that. And so, I give people a little breathing room now because a lot of time I have time for foolishness. It's like, man, I don't have time for this, bro. Get off my timeline.
No, that's real. Well, the scripture says, and I think it's an important thing for us to remember. The Bible says, whenever it's within your power, be at peace. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you do got to cut folks off. But I think the world,
give it a chance.
Man, the world standard is just forget it. It's like we got to be careful.
And that was me. When you said, no, man, we can debate, we can disagree. I said, okay, you make sense. Why there, not? Man. Let's do that. So I appreciate that. Always challenge me to think and do better and be better. And that's what we need. That's what we need. Iron sharpens iron.
That's real.
We got to be useful to each other.
Facts. That's real. Want to talk about that shirt right there, brother? That hashtag ADOS. That's American American descendants of slaves. Is that what it is? Right on, man.
Yeah, I bought it. Antonio Moore and Yvette Carnell. They kind of, they actually started this movement, ADOS. But reparations been around for a long time. Of course. But with this movement, and so I bought the shirt to support them, to support her with what she's doing and things like that.
Are they local?
No, I think Antonio was in LA, and I don't know where Yvette is. I don't know if she's back east somewhere.
Where do we get the shirt at?
I ordered it online on Twitter, because she posted on Twitter that she was selling the shirts, and so
Okay.
I just went on there. When I saw it, I ordered one.
I'll go get one,
just to support it, because we got to support our own and what we do and things like that. And of course, I'm all down for reparations, and there's with America Descendants of Slavery, in that within that movement. There are people, that's got issues with some of the folks of what they're saying and what they're doing. But that's with any movement and everything. You can't put everybody in one basket. And the same thing with this, especially when you're talking about Black folks. We come in all shapes, sizes, and opinions, and ideology, and all those type of things. So real. We're different. And we got to leave room for that to be different and let people be who they are. But we do have one thing in common: we are descendants of slaves, and we want what's belonged to us, right? So I'm down with that.
Okay.
I'm down with that.
Speaking of our own, you said our own, and it reminded me, we were talking before we started rolling here, is you're talking about your mentor program. And I know like a lot of times in our, what we talk about tends to be these really high level things. And I think sometimes we miss a lot of what's actually happening here, because the other day I was on my buddy's Facebook, James Wiley.
Oh yeah.
And somebody had, and somebody mentioned about something that was not happening, or something that was going, something that happened, and I had mentioned we need to like do more to kind of get involved in some way. And getting involved doesn't always mean leaving your home. There are certain things that people need that you could do from your house. There's certain organizing and communication stuff that can happen. You don't have to leave, but and he was like, well, what are some of the things that could be done? And so I mentioned a few people. One of them was Kenya Taylor. I mentioned Aramik, Mika. I mentioned Tasha. I mentioned you. And because I think like it's important for some of the local things that are happening for people to realize that there's things we could do here. And I personally don't even know a whole lot about your mentoring program. So like, just real quick, like just so that people can know what you're doing in mentoring, could you talk a little bit about, and this isn't an interview, the interview thing we're doing, but I'm just like, let's stay local a little bit. Let's fly low.
Exactly. Well, it's a grant that's came through CalVIP. That's California Violence Intervention Prevention. Fund. It used to be called Cal Grips. Cal Games, I should say. No, Cal Grips. Cal Grips, which deals with the game piece of it. But and so South Bay Community Services got a grant, and we're subcontracting with them to do the mentoring piece. And basically, we go in six months increments, and we have we're supposed to develop 4 different cohorts, 10 youth in each cohort. The areas to focus is National City and the 92113 Ericole, which is over in the community where I grew up at. And we can do maybe, I think it's about 8% outside anywhere. 8% of the folks that come in and so on. And so it's basically focused on interactive journaling that deals with behavioral change, like what got to help you look at what got you here, deals with reentry, deals with drugs, whatever type of behavioral issue there may be that needs to change. There's evidence. We have evidence-based journals that deal with that, and we teach those to the class. We also do individual mentoring. We're getting ready to start the individual mentoring. We haven't started that piece yet. We started the group meetings. And then another piece is we do activities with the youth. We also try to get them involved in civic engagement. So it's 4 areas. One is group meetings. One is individual mentoring, civic engagement, and different type of activities where you go to the movies, play game, go fishing, whatever, with youth and so on. And it's 6 months, then they get promoted or graduate out of the program. And if they want to stay and continue to help and be a team mentor, what have you, we most definitely welcome that. And then the next month we do it again. So this is like a 2-year grant. And we most definitely need mentors. So if folks are interested in mentoring the youth, once a week or however much time you want to spend with that individual, at least an hour, a month, and take it from there. And you can take it on up higher, but have some kind of involvement in the youth life to help them. Get with me. And we'll sign you up and all of that to get you ready to do the individual mentoring. If you want to also be a part of the cohort, you have to be trained for that. interactive journaling, and also go through our community mentors program,
Okay.
training program that we have in San Diego.
Good.
A lot of us, different programs came together, put together a San Diego community mentor program, which some other places they call it credible messengers, but we want to have our own identity in San Diego. So we do that. So that's kind of what we're dealing with, and it's more so focused on the high risk youth, those that are like maybe actively gang members or involved in violence and things like that, or have that potential to go there. Really high risk, not at. I mean, you may have some at risk, and we're gonna turn nobody away, but the primary target is high risk youth.
Good.
And dealing with that area. And so this goes 2 years. I think coming up pretty soon, they're supposed to be doing something in the Promise Zone, Promise neighborhoods, and we're hoping to have a little piece of that also and be a part of that, because that's
District 9, right?
No, District 8. District 8.
District 8.
Yeah, District 8. Yeah.
So,
and our district left out a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, District 4. I mean, I know people feel Southeast San Diego in whole. District 8, 9, and 4 has left out a lot of things, but really, District 8 is left out a lot of stuff. When they do come to Southeast, they look at District
it's funny.
4, District 9.
Well, when you say that, when you say that, it reminds me. Tasha told me one day I made a comment about something, and I forgot what I commented about it. She was like, "There are Black people all over San Diego."
That's right.
And I guess like you just hear Southeast and that's it. It's like when I hear Southeast, I think of Imperial Skyline. I think of Emerald Hills. You know what I mean? So I think it's important to continue. And that's why I think it's important to continue to talk about some of the things that are going on, because we need constant reminders. I think there's all this media that focuses on Southeast, and it's always Skyline, Lincoln Park. You know, and it's, you don't never talk about the 92113 in District 8 or the little pieces of District 9 that used to be District 4 and all this stuff. You know, you don't think about anyway, there's a lot of that. So
that's because we have, for most of the time, we have a Black council member for District 4, and that's everybody that's Black. See that you could be in District 8 and they still see District 4 council member as their council member, and so on. And so we're trying to want to switch that, and there has to be accountability on District 4, District 9, and District 8. So with me, I'm District 8, and it was a council member David Alvarez, now is council member Vivian Marino. And so on, I met with her staff last week, and she's come to a couple of things. They've been to some of my welcome knocks and things like that, but want to keep that connection there because they do represent all of the community, and not just because our community in District 8 is heavily Latino or Latinx or whatever term you use. What people don't realize is that last time I checked it, I don't know if it changed, but last time I checked the stats and the census on that, 10% of District 8 is Black. Where overall in San Diego is 6% Black. So it's a higher percentage of Blacks in District 8 versus the overall percentage in the, of course, District 4 has a way higher percentage of Blacks.
But I think
than,
the other
District 4 than District 8.
Well, but I think another part of this too is one of the things we have to remember is that the council members work together.
Right.
A lot of, like you would see, like if something affected a pocket that touched District 8, District 9, because there's pockets where District 8, 9, and 4
like AB 392.
Right. And so they have to they depend on one another.
Policing affects all these districts, and that's why I met with council member Vivian Marino to make sure that they were in line, understood. They clearly said, no, we understand.
Well, so that, and I think that's important to remember too. When we look at wanting to swing these votes, wanting to influence these votes, I think what has to happen and what we need to remember is that it's a government for the people, by the people, and of the people. Exactly. And so when you have District 8, 9, and 4 that have a lot of similar issues, a lot of the same issues.
And a lot of people don't really look at it like District 8, District 9, and District 4, Southeast San Diego, whatever, or various communities. Because council member George Stevens. Remember, he wanted to stop that because they put a bad label on Southeast San Diego. He said there's communities in Southeast San Diego. So now a lot of times they're supposed to be using community, like if it's Memorial, like in my community, Memorial Park, Logan, those other communities, at least on this side, then you have San Ysidro. So a lot of times, when we talk about on this side of 8, I always, talk about, Memorial Park or Logan Heights or Body of Logan or Stockton area. Those are communities. So we have about 6 communities in that part of District 8 where I grew up at. And I lived all over.
Yeah. Well,
Logan, everywhere.
So, and just to wrap that up, like I think because we want to talk about some other things, But I guess the only thing I'm saying is like that I think is good to remember, for people to remember, for us to remember, is that these communities need to work together.
Amen.
And
I agree.
we need to come together about the issues that we agree on, and then we need to support each other. Each individual community specific issues, we need to support those, because that's what the council members do. So it's just good to know that. So we'll
and they have to understand the complaint. I mean, like with the homeless, I know there was a divide there. And so, but I know, like in my area, District 8, you know, knocking on doors and so on and so forth, people have a lot of issues with homelessness. Even though they want something to be done for the homeless, you have a lot of criminal activity that's happening and going on, and people want things to be done for that. So a lot of times people just look at it from one perspective, from the perspective of like, hey, you know, they're criminalizing the homeless. And we don't want that. But at the same time, at least from the community members that I talk to and things like that, when it comes to the homeless, there are people that feel afraid to go outside. There are people that have folks stealing stuff out of their yards and things like that. All type of different. I had our church. We had a lot of problems with the homeless. You know, I went out there and dealt with it. But you know, they'll urinate in front of your church.
So that's expected. But here's the thing. I think, because I think what has happened overall, and thank God we're seeing a resurgence of activity and people getting involved in the political process, specifically AB 392.
Thank you,
for all the people that came. It was set, you know, that council meeting that day with the issue of.
But do you know how many people were there?
It took 7 hours. That thing went on all day. Not just the AB.
I was there, but I don't remember how many.
But they did that, and I think there was 125 people. Then the issues dealing with the homeless issue. It took, but so I guess what is that people. We want people to like get involved in that process, because I think part of the problem is that what we've done is we've abdicated our responsibility to take care of these issues in our communities. We've just been like, okay, well, we voted Councilmember Montgomery.
Take care of it.
Just you deal with it.
Yeah.
And we don't join none of the lists that they have.
Exactly.
We don't join none of the we don't join any of the email lists. We don't do any of the actions that they do. We're not, and we want them to be these superheroes. Exactly what we did when President Obama was in office. It's like, we got a black president, we chilling now. And so there was never any pressure. And so I think it's important that community members take up the mantle and find out, you know, go to Councilmember Montgomery's page and sign up for her email blast and find out what's going on.
Newsletter.
Find out.
She's a newsletter, her press releases, everything.
Her communications person, Perry Story, phenomenal communicator, man.
Yeah.
That sister gets down. And so my thing, for real. And you know, I love me some Councilmember Montgomery. That's my girl. And but all of our council members need help.
Exactly.
Right. And if you don't like what's happening in your district with your council member, then we need to start rallying and we need to come together.
Exactly.
We're working on that.
And what I would say also is one of the things that I know I did years ago when David Adams first got in there is start meeting with them too. You know, whether it's once a month, every quarter, whatever it is, because they come to the community, they'll set up meetings and meet with you. You share what your issues are. You come back and follow up with them, go and ask them how you can support them. Go down to city council and bring people with you if you can, and support them down there and get involved. And then when there's an issue, they'll call you. They'll get in contact with you to see where you are, and not so much where you are in the sense where are you, but in the sense of how you can support them. Yeah,
you know, there's an old saying, and then we'll move on to this police accountability. But there's an old saying that says power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so when you these council members have power. Yeah. And so what happens is that power, if it's not checked, tends to corrupt. And when you give somebody the power with no accountability, that power tends to absolutely corrupt people. And then you get these politicians making these deals that you never agreed on, and it's all in the backs of the people. So real quick before we move on, Tasha says if they aren't with the people, then we're going to vote them out. That's what she said. If they're not with the people, then we'll vote them out of office. We'll recall them. That's real. Yeah, that's real. And she says, I'm hearing there are not enough assembly members voting for AB 392. I did hear that.
Probably not here in San Diego.
Well, that it's struggling in Sacramento is what I heard. And so again, when these people get put into office, when they get put into office, they're put into office by the people, and they're accountable to the people. And so if we want these things that we think are important to be voted on, then we need to hold these politicians accountable and make sure that they vote the way that we say to vote, because that's the type of government we have. So we'll
vote them out.
Exactly. So Natasha says that black president gave reparations to indigenous Philippine veterans and Holocaust survivors. That's an issue that you.
And then when we have for our reparations, they say, "What about?" And I don't have nothing against Native American. What about Native American? What else? Well, when you get reparations, everybody else, you say, "What about black people?" So,
40 acres and a mule. Exactly. It's like, man, how about that?
We have a individual. When I say individual, as a group, black people, a claim against America for what we from slavery to the day, and they got to respond and fix it. Especially when you look at the racial wealth gap. I don't care like DeAndre Brooks. I already said Brown. DeAndre Brooks.
Congratulations,
graduate today, but and I thought I was going to be out of town, and but I think you got to have tickets to go because I really wanted to go to his graduation day. I was at something yesterday, but. Like with him graduating with a degree, you can come back and look at him 10 years from now with him excelling like he's doing, and it still be a wealth gap between him, the degree that he has, and a white person, and where they have excelled to. And people don't look at that. I mean, we get excited about the diplomas and the graduations, and that's great, but it still ain't gonna do anything great for you until we fix the wealth gap and what you talking about when you're talking about systemic racism.
Well, there's no question about that. Shout out to DeAndre.
Yeah, man. Congratulations.
40% black males, according to United Negro College Fund statistic, 42% or 40% of black males actually graduate, lowest of all ethnicities. And they say it's not an issue of being smart. It's an issue of, like, most black males have a family issue, a job, or something else that prevents them from going. And so congratulations, brother, on beating the odds and graduating from college, man. We're proud he's going
fresh out of prison when he did it.
Fresh out the pen, man. And thank God to the program at SDSU. That's the event you went to yesterday. Oh my goodness. Homebound or Project Rebound. Project Rebound, man. Shout out to Project Rebound at SDSU that helps formerly incarcerated folks and other people to reacclimate and get into school, man. So shout out to programs like that, man. That's really phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Sister Tasha says we need 42 votes to win AB 392 in Sacramento. So we'll see what happens there. I plan on going up to Sacramento for the Democratic convention to watch them vote in Kimberly Ellis. I hope she wins. It's going to be, I believe she will. She has a good shot. But who knows? These things are really tough. She should have won last time. But so
what's she running for?
For the chair. She's running for the chair of the state Democratic Party.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. She'd be the first.
I'm not Democrat, so
yeah. Well, and so
I can't.
Yeah. No. I get it. And I'm debating where I'm at with that. That's something it's just through conversation, and I heard I just want to get with some of the folks that have been kind of going with this for a while, and just kind of have a real conversation about where I want to lean as someone who votes, because I certainly don't hold to all Democratic values.
Exactly.
Certainly don't hold to all Republican values.
Right.
I see myself more as an independent.
Yeah.
But I think
even independents are either Democrat or Republican.
Well, but it's just like someone saying they're non-denominational.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, right. Right. You're just apostolic with not, or you're just Presbyterian.
And they do it, they do it.
So, but I just want to be educated when I make the decision, because I am getting more involved, and I heard some things about our state being closed when it comes to, like, you have to be a Democrat in order to vote for certain things or whatever. I'm like, whoa. So I want to make sure that I'm making the right decision. So, Tasha says United States did not kill Jewish people, but we paid for their survival. Facts. The United States played a role in slavery for centuries. That's the truth. Everybody else gets paid but us. There's no question about it. There's no doubt about it. So one of the things that I thought about, and this came from Brother Turnell's video when I watched that, and it's something I see all the time. And I defy somebody to find a video where you have a police officer that where there's more than one police officer and they know somebody's filming, and the police officer don't try to position themselves in front of the camera, in front of that person's camera. There's a reason why you do stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
They know
there's no one in the world. And that's one of if you look at like what sin does,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Just however you feel about the Bible, however, but you know, but the scripture describes what happens when man sinned. Was the first thing they did was hide themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Sin makes you hide.
Mm-hmm.
It exposes you. It exposes whatever you're doing, and it makes you hide.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's what happens. That's what these officers do when they stand in front of the person recording so that you can't get the full view. And they know exactly what they're doing. And what that is a lot of brotherhood stuff where they trying to like cover the backs of their brothers. And those are the things that to me, like, I think are just ridiculous that we do stuff like that the police do things like that. I think it's sad. And so I wanted to just talk a little bit about police accountability and what this AB 392 bill would do for police accountability, and just get maybe some of your thoughts on what do you think citizens hear? What do you think they hear? What do they think people are saying when they talk about police accountability? Why is that such a hard concept for people to get, the idea of police accountability? Why do people try to make it that why does it have to be so difficult to understand?
Whew, man, I can go one way with it. And, you know, the thought that you're speaking and saying it is because of, we know what police are for, right? You know, before, you know, we had police, you had security, you know, and basically the rich people that, you know, had security to protect, you know, their properties and different things like that, in which some of their property was slaves. But then adopted the European model of policing. And a lot of that was stemmed around dealing with, you know, keeping Black people in check, you know. So when you talk about accountability, I don't think nobody wants to say they don't believe in accountability, but it's how accountability is interpreted, right? And a lot of times when we talk about accountability, then you have the police officers union, the chief, and everybody else start saying, well, no, this is not about accountability. This is about putting police lives at stake, right? And police officers can be killed now. And now, you know, they're going to have reservations in, you know, defending themselves, or if their life is in danger. And this put a lot of police officers in danger because, you know, now they're going to be afraid to put a gun out and shoot somebody. But because, you know, or if they're going to be shot, because they think they're going to be charged. And that's the narrative that's framed. So a lot of times it's not really, we're saying accountability, but you got to look at the narrative of what they're saying. And what they're saying is that it put police officers' lives in danger. And that's what the mass majority of people are looking at. They believing. Just think about it, man. And I'm glad, you know, we're following up with Tranel, because I want to use what happened with his situation as an example. At first is the way the media, you know, when they went to Chief Nislight's press conference, right? Then right after that, Eric Mika had called a press conference. And so I went, and we did a lot of talking and so on and so forth there. And we knew that the media wasn't going to show anything that we said. You know, that's why I thank God for Layla and others who was doing the live, because that's our media, right? That's the different new media is we have social media where we can really get our message out there. Yeah. But I went and watched all the various channels, and most of them, none of them really covered anything that we said. They covered Leticia, the mom, with her crying a little bit and things like that, but never anything that we were saying to discount or discredit what the chief said about whether Tranel had rushed the police officer and tackled him, or whether he got snatched out and grabbed him, you know, trying to hold his violence. So what they reported was, oh, you know, you could see that he rushed the police officer and tackled him, and but you got to remember, they don't care if you have 6% Black people and 4% and 5% in the county. They don't care what we think. They're concerned about the media, and the viewers is mostly white, and that's who they're trying to make their appeal to. So they framed the narrative in a way that they know that they're going to accept it, right? And so that narrative is he attacked this police officer. So when we talk about accountability, it's always looked at from the lens of media and the wider society outside of Black people as the police officer his life was at jeopardy, his life was in danger, and they did nothing wrong. You know what I mean? That's the narrative versus Chief. hold your people accountable. And like, one of our issues that we're dealing with is how effective is an investigation, right? If
wait, so look. So here's what we got. My officers did absolutely nothing wrong, but we're gonna do an investigation to find out. What? He said that, I was like, I don't get it. And let me just, so here,
but that's Chief Nisley, right? I mean, that's the problem with him. He's been that way since I've known him as a lieutenant. He's very defensive when it comes to police, and he's become so defensive to the point to where that he's on TV. He's the chief of police, oversees investigation, but yet declaring his officer innocent, rather than, we know, I thank God that he spoke what he thought, because most times chiefs are smart enough not to speak what they think. They say, there's an investigation, we'll wait till, but in my life, you didn't do nothing wrong. So at least if you're talking transparent, at least he's being transparent from the perspective of how he really thinks.
I've been thinking about this. So I've been thinking about this all week, about the idea that, and I think it's important, especially as believers, you and I subscribe to the text of the scriptures.
That's right.
And the scripture says that the battle that we fight is not against flesh and blood.
Right.
But it's a battle against principalities. It's spiritual wickedness in the heavenly places. And so when we see the struggle that goes on, I'm always reminded of when Jesus in John 3, when he was talking to Nicodemus and talking about the rulers, and Jesus said, you guys know what the truth is. Light came into the world. The ability to see came. But you guys don't want to come to the light because you don't want your evil deeds to be exposed.
That's right.
And so when you look at like what's happening with police, when you look at what's happening with accountability, God gave us a conscience, and that word conscience means with knowledge. So when people do things that are against the natural law of God, like there's no way that you could do something harmful to somebody and nothing inside of you goes, don't do that. Don't do that. You just can't do that. It doesn't work that way. And so I think when you see the power that that the dominant culture is going to have to concede by becoming accountable, when you see the influence that'll be lost, and that's a part of the reason why they don't want to have laws like this passed, because passing laws like this means that you can no longer just do whatever you want to do and get away with it, and you can't do that, and so they don't want that to happen. And so therefore we know that the dominant culture really is not following God.
That's right.
Right. And therefore that's how we know that the dominant culture here really is not, this isn't a Christian nation, because a Christian nation would submit to those things that are obviously, like, there's no way that you can do things wrong to people continuously without any consequence. And so I think it's time that we start looking at a portion of this, because I think if we're not careful, we're going to fight against one another so much, and we're going to always lose, because there's no way that we can fight against with a small amount of people that we have. You know what I mean? And so I think it's important that we fight wisely, that we understand like the areas that we can win, and that we do these types of things, because there is a way to win. I just don't know.
Some people they stretch themselves thin, and
I think we got to be careful. And so I think it's important. That's the reason why people vote for district attorneys that aren't good for other communities. People are willing to let the person who's in the White House right now, they're willing to let him say and do things that are not right, but it's because it doesn't affect you and you don't mind. That's why I'm not quick to say that all these people are Christian. There's no way that you could be Christian and walk the way some of these folks is walking. So I think it's important, especially as believers. It's not a condemnation of anybody else.
And I mean, we don't have time to get into the history lessons and things like that. But, as you know, that, the church used to be separate and was a light to the world. But when Constantine, the emperor, when he claimed to become a Christian, that's when it started blending and mixing together, right? And most of the time, it was what you see today. People just wanted to be identified with being a Christian, in these offices and positions and so on, because it started way back then. And so today, a lot of people claim they are Christian, but they're really not. And the church is not separate from the world like it should be. But Constantine is the one that started that.
Well, there'll be a day of reckoning. That's
so
sure.
Even if people, don't believe nothing about God, like Trump, they still gonna say I'm a Christian and, show up to church every now and then. and probably never pray, never read their Bible, don't repent, don't ask God for forgiveness, don't think they need forgiveness or anything. But yet, I'm a disciple of the Lord.
They love a guy that had multiple marriages and
all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And one last thing, just very interesting piece of biblical history. And then I want to read a few of these questions, and then we'll go on to the next topic. Is I was talking to a friend of mine. He was talking about the term usury in the Bible, which is interest, right? It means interest, and it's really unbiblical. It's funny when you look at these churches. The idea of charging interest, like Donald Trump lost $1 billion in interest and all the money he didn't even work for, like, and charging interest, charging exorbitant interest to people. The very fact that in America you purchase a home for $150,000, and by the time you're done paying, it's $700,000. Anything that you pay
for that car twice,
3 times sometimes. And for a home, you could spend $150,000 on a home, and by the time you're done paying, it's $700,000. That is against every one of God's principles.
And this is America, right?
It's against every one of God's principles. And so, and I think it's important too, as we begin to look at some of the mind frame of some of these people running for office, it's important to understand the perspective that they're coming from, because sometimes people can say things that you disagree with in the surface until you really listen to what they're saying. You go and you don't realize that it may be a biblical principle or it may not be. So I think it's important to understand where a person is coming from, because I heard somebody say before that when you work for a company, it's important to find out who the CEO is, because that's whose philosophy you're going to be following. So it's important to know who that person is. So it just the devil's in charge. It's just interesting. I think as we're looking at these politicians and people, just have to see what's influencing these people. And a lot of times it's not black and white. That's the way it plays out. Racism is just it's really about money. Racism is about money, and racism is about power. And so, but anyway, I don't want to keep going. Let me see. Sister Tasha says, thanks for interacting so much too, Queen. We appreciate that. She says, when she becomes mayor, the police not going to be able to hide anymore. Amen. That's real. And that's a good thing. Thank God. Tasha for mayor 2020. The unions are lying and saying that officers' lives will be lost. That's such a lie. Like, and anytime you should have to think about what you're going to do before you pull the trigger. And this new law is really about you putting yourself in a more advantageous spot. Have you done everything necessary before you pull the trigger? And for them to argue that that's a bad thing is ridiculous. Rogue officers make good officers look bad. That's true. A chief who protects rogue officers is complicit in keeping a failing, corrupt system intact, and he should resign, because lying in his offense, officers can be fired for and should be. And there's
the police officers union and the mayor's okay with it. So
when you look at policies, there's an issue about moral turpitude, and lying is a removable offense.
But mayor ain't doing that.
I get it. And so
just see black people as a bunch of whiners. And that's it. And
eventually
it'll die down.
Listen, here's what's going to happen. Eventually, it's going to cost. Now, I'll tell you what. When a police officer will get fired is when you make the chief look bad. If he do something that he can't hide, these kinds of things he can hide.
But San Diego at large has to really get involved. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. We need our I don't even want to say it. We need San Diegans to understand the struggle and stand for what's fair and what's right, no matter where it is.
That's good.
And if folks can do that, then we can hold the mayor accountable. But he's a deadbeat mayor, right? He's going out next year. He probably ain't going to do nothing anyway. What we probably got to focus on right now is the next mayor and whoever gets in there. Make sure that they are the kind of mayor that is going to be able to go in there and the chief knows once that person get in there that he got to resign. Because they aren't going to play. But most of these,
I just want I want to plug real quick freshman politicians, right? Non-career politicians. I just want to plug. I was thinking about this today. We got some freshman politicians coming in. 2 sisters that we know, Aramik, 51st Congressional District, Tasha Williamson running for mayor.
They're not freshmen. They got to win first.
Well, when I mean freshmen,
running for office,
I'm talking about in this capacity, non-career politics. So technically they're not freshmen, but I'm saying to this particular thing, one of the things that I think is important for people to remember when we got these youngsters like AOC and other folks that are fresh into politics and have been doing political things for years, but haven't necessarily held a political office, right? That's the difference between a politician and non-politician. You could be doing political work, but politicians are professional. Right. And so we have non-professional politicians that have been doing political actions for a long time that really do have an understanding of the government. Right. And one of the things I want the people to remember when we start looking at some of these young in politics, politicians that are entering, specifically right now, just talking about the two African-American queens that we got going, Mika, 51st Congressional District, and Tasha for mayor, is what I think is important is because we're a government for the people and by the people, what you get when you get someone who doesn't have all those, the political ties are good, but the ability to create healthy relationships is better. Somebody who doesn't have all the secret backwards, someone who goes into an office already owing people favors is bad, right? Somebody that comes in that understands the ability. You see Tasha and Aramik both making relationships, cross boundaries, cross spectrums with different types of people. And I think that that's important. And I think San Diegans need to understand that when you have brand new people that are going into these offices, because we're a government that's for the people, by the people, and of the people, we have politicians that are going into these positions that that we should feel, as with any politician going in, that they need help. We should feel like that with any politician that goes in. The citizenry should be gearing up to figure out how can I help, because of the way that government works. But we don't think that way. We always say, oh, let's put somebody in that already knows every single thing, that's already done whatever. And I don't think that that's healthy. That's how you get business as usual. So I think as we see these first time politicians going in, I think we really need to give a good look, and San Diegans need to look and see what benefits, and there's many, does a society or that does a city gain from having somebody who has a fresh slate, that has the ability to create relationships, is articulate, fierce, willing to stand up for the people, has demonstrated over time that they love the people and stuff. And so I think we need to really take a look at that, and hopefully some conversation is had about that, because the truth is, when you go in, no politician has a lock on everything. Politicians learn about budgets as they go. They're not accountants and stuff. You know what I mean? You got people that do those jobs. It's not like you're putting somebody in the office or whatever that has to count all the beans and do all the math. And you have people that do that. And it's about being able to have a good relationship with people and accountability. And if the people in the public understand that your doors are open and the people that work in your office are accountable to those people that put them there, I think you have a good relationship that could be had. So let's just remember that as we go into this new political season. And Sister Tasha says, speak it into existence. I'm a freshman, Mayor Tasha Williams in 2020. These are facts. Someone who is not for sale. That's true. We don't want people. We don't want people who are for sale. That's for real. That's real. And won't flip flop on votes and the people. That's true. You need somebody who's going to be consistent, and somebody that has shown that they're willing to stand up for something that's controversial. We're running out of time. We got about 17 minutes left. So just, for the record, just these two queens that's running, I just really want to shout out all the new people that are going into politics, but really just thinking a lot about African-Americans that we have in our city that are going for political office. Tasha Williamson for mayor. We got Mika Glass for the 51st Congressional District. We got Kenya Taylor for District 2 County Board of Supervisors. And just a shout out to the sisters that's doing that. I think a lot about the 1920 ruling that came in that gave white women the right to vote. And Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated was a big part of running that particular campaign. Speaking of which, my youngest daughter got an award today, y'all. Just a segue real quick, and then we'll move on to our last topic. Talk about procedural justice. But the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, big shout out to those sisters right there. My daughter is a part of the Delta Academy. She's been a part of Delta. It's a young mentoring and leadership program put on by the Betty Shabazz chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta sorority. My daughter got the Dreamcatcher Award, which it's a high honor. They gave 3 awards. One of the awards was for academic excellence. One of the awards was for leadership, and they gave a separate award for sisterhood. And then they had an award that encompassed all of that. And so because my daughter is an honor student in high school, because she exemplifies good leadership, she was a president of the Delta Academy, and then she's a real sister. Like, she's there for the sisters in the group. They gave her the Dreamcatcher Award, which was really, really cool. So I'm really proud of my baby. She's doing really, really well. And just a shout out to her mom. Shout out to my wife for taking her to these once a month. Shout out to the sisters that are out there mentoring these young sisters. You can really just see the pride in these Delta ladies. And then they have the Dr. Jam program, those brothers from the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. Shout out to those brothers. And I'm just saying right now, when I become a man, I want to be an Omega man. So I'm just putting that out there right now. So love you. So let's go to our last topic. Probably is going to be procedural justice. And will you lead that discussion, because that's something that you wrote quite a bit about.
Really, procedural justice.
And what does that mean?
Procedural justice is dealing with 21st century policing and how, when police interact with the community, there's procedures they should follow when we talk about justice, and so we call it procedural justice. There's 4 pillars in the President Obama set up a task force when he was president, back when Michael Brown and all them were being killed. To do some research and come together with a report on, what policing should look like in the 21st century. So they call it 21st century policing. And this is something that Chief Nisley, Chief Zimmerman both said that, they are in line with is procedural justice. They believe in that. And procedural justice has 4 pillars. One is treating people with dignity and respect. Whenever you stop and you deal with somebody, treating them with dignity. When we know many times that's not so. If you're going to ask me, I'm on probation, you're not treating me with dignity and respect. Even if you know that I'm on probation, you're not treating me with dignity and respect if you stop me just to search my car and see what I'm up to. One of the things that I found out.
So are you saying just because you have just because I'm a 4th waiver, just because you have the right to stop and search my car, you shouldn't do it just on GP? Is that
exactly? Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say, because throughout the nation, I'm coming to find out, looking at the federal government and throughout the nation, at various other states, California is one, not the only, but one of the states that does that. As far as when a person commits a crime and they get on probation, they become a 4th waiver. That's not done everywhere else. And a 4th waiver
is somebody who waives your right to deny a search and seizure
without reason.
So a police officer, the average. So normally what happens, a police officer comes to you and says, I want to search you. And you go, I refuse to get searched. You need a search warrant. You can't just search you. They can't go into your car. Right. They can't search your residence, just arbitrarily come in and search. The 4th Amendment protects you. But when you have a felony, or misdemeanor, some parole or probation, but parole for sure. When you're on parole for sure, your felony waives your right to 4th Amendment protection.
The court order is the one that waives it, as far as what they put on. But in California, most of the court orders that come from the judge is waiving the 4th.
But that's what I'm saying.
And probation and police enforcement.
But what I'm saying is, when you're a 4th waiver, that's what that means. That your felony waives your right to deny a search. So when you have a felony,
not your felony, and that's what I'm saying. It's like throughout the state of throughout the nation, they don't do that in other states.
I'm talking about here
with felony. Here.
I'm talking about in general.
California.
When someone is a 4th waiver, when you're labeled a 4th waiver, something on your record has taken away your rights to say, I don't want to search
convicted of a crime.
So they say, are you a 4th waiver? Do you have a felony? Because if you say yes, and when you are a felon, you have to tell them that. If you come into contact with the police and you're a felon, you have to say, yes, I'm on parole or probation. And then that gives them the automatic right to search you and to search your car. They can go into your home and search your home. That's why you have to give an address of where you are, and you have to identify where your area of the house is, because they can come in and search. So there's just so much that happens.
And that's not under procedural justice.
Just want to let people know what
procedural justice. That's not dignity and respect. That's not treating people with dignity and respect. You're treating people as second-class citizen, and that's why you have a lot of Black people on probation and parole. And then the second principle is giving individuals a voice during encounters, right? You know, if you stop me, can I ask why you stop? Yeah, just give me your driver's license, blah, blah, blah. That's not procedural justice. Procedural justice is giving me a voice during the encounter. I have a right. What did you stop me for? What's the problem?
So I'm
here?
a police officer,
Yeah.
and I say, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, roll down your window. I want to talk to you. Roll your window down. Do you have to? Will you roll your window down?
A little bit so you can.
Okay,
so
okay.
We can, you know,
hey, roll your window all the way down. I need to talk to you.
No, I can talk to you just like this.
Okay, and technically, an officer should say, "Okay, there's no safety
Exactly.
violation,
Exactly.
right? No safety." And so I say, "Let me see your ID." Well, what do you say? Let me see your ID. What would you say?
Yeah, that's the law. You supposed to show. You supposed to. That's the minimum. That's all you have to do.
Do you have to show your ID if you haven't committed a crime?
Well, number one, let me give you an example, at least from my understanding of my rights. Like if I'm walking down the street and a police officer say, "Hey, can I talk to you for a minute?" I said, "No, you can't." And I keep walking. You know what I mean? You have no right.
But
Then,
if a police
if he
officer
stop me and want my ID, no, I mean, there's going to be a little problem here. But my first initial response is going to be no. What for?
So isn't that the same when you're driving? If they just pull you over and say, "Let me see your ID,"
but that's what I'm saying.
For
So
what?
yeah,
why do you want to see my? Why
exactly.
you pull me over?
Exactly.
You can't just come and pull me over and no.
Good point. That's a good point. Yeah, I agree with that.
Why do you want my ID? I'm not. Like, what's your name? For what?
Right.
What did I do?
Right.
If I'm not suspected of committing a crime, I don't
Right.
owe you that information.
Exactly.
But they do that, and
Yeah.
people say, "Well, you should just let them violate your rights and then take them to court." For what? It's like that makes no sense. Like you should not violate my rights. Let's fix that.
But and that's the thing about procedural justice.
And that's what procedural justice addresses.
Give me a voice during the encounter. You know, like you were saying.
Don't be offended because I want to know why you're pulling me over.
Yeah, because I might like, what are you pulling me over? I haven't done anything. I've been driving. So when you come, can you have a driver like? Because I've had that happen to me. Give you an example of a police officer stopped me and my wife was driving, and I got off the freeway. He stopped me. This was several years ago. And he said, driver license and registration. I said, "Can I ask what you stopped me for?" "Just give me your driver license and registration. I'll let you know that later." so, and I got upset, and I'm like, okay, we're going to have an issue here. I gave it to him, but, I was kind of like, but my tail light was out. And it was out. It was out.
And here's the thing.
He didn't give me a ticket, but,
Here's the thing. Pull you over, say, "Hey, do you know why he pulled you over?" So I knew this one.
Most of the time, that's what they do.
But when I say, "No, I don't know," "Can you check?" "Well, you have a tail light out." "Well, can I go see?" "The tail light's out."
Exactly.
Okay, then show you, because anytime you have a moving violation, you have to show your ID. We just need to know what our rights are. The goal of this is not to be antagonistic. F you, man. I get it. I understand that we're frustrated.
But I should have a voice.
That's the key. Like, don't strip me of my ability to defend myself if I haven't done anything. And I have a right to know why you're asking me these questions, sir. Yeah. Like, I don't, and what happened, and that's the idea that goes back to power corrupts, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. If you have officers who feel like no matter what they do, they're going to get away with it, you're going to have corrupt police force. And before you know it, those police officers are going to start getting brought up on charges of rape, because they're going to just start doing. So part of what discipline does is it corrects bad behavior. So certain officers know you can't go into these areas and do these particular things to people and get away with it. That's not going to happen. And
it's not procedural justice.
And so, and I think that that's important. And we need to understand these things, and we need to stand up for these things. We need to demand these things. And these are the things we need to come together as communities and say, this is what we want for the people in our
and here's the thing with procedural justice, like when we talk about treating people with dignity and respect, giving individuals voice during encounters, that's what the police should be doing if they're implementing procedural justice, right? And then the third principle is being neutral and transparent in decision making. And Chief Nislak claimed to be following procedural justice. So let me say that again.
Say that.
Being neutral and transparent in decision making.
So in other words, you're saying, the way I hear that is that if something happens, I say, ladies and gentlemen, there's an investigation going on right now. We refuse. We're not going to talk about anything, but we're going to turn over everything, including the unedited version of the videos. We're going to give it to a third party, like the CRB, that actually has some type of subpoena power and stuff, and we're going to give this to them, and whatever they decide, that's what we're going to do. And then they look at this, and then they release the videos, and then people can say, "Hey, you know what I mean?" And there has to be some
neutral and transparent. Exactly.
And there's
but he wasn't neutral or transparent.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with? I don't. It's like,
oh, I believe our officer didn't do nothing wrong. That's not being neutral.
What's wrong with being neutral? What's wrong with being transparent? Like,
exactly.
Why?
They're supposed to be following that though. They said, hey, we're going to follow. That's like big language they talk. Procedural justice, and this is what procedural justice is. And the third one is, and this is where we have the problem, right?
Fourth one.
The fourth one. Excuse me. The fourth one is conveying trustworthy motives, right? And so I treat people with dignity and respect. I give individual voice during encounters. I'm being neutral and transparent in decision making, and I'm conveying trustworthy motives, right? And so now, like anybody, there's people that even believed in the chief a little bit now lost that trust, right? Because he did not convey trustworthy motives. When you do what you did, you didn't follow any of the other procedural justice principles. That automatically disqualify you at following procedural justice. So now I don't even trust you. So you got to convey trustworthy motives. So if you follow all the procedural justice, if you're transparent and if you're allowing yourself to be held accountable, and you show people that I don't have nothing to hide here. I don't have nothing to hide. Wherever the chips fall, let them lie. And we'll deal with that. We want to be held accountable. We want to be transparent. And so then people say, okay, there's some trust here. I can trust that he's going to do the right thing. But now you're looking at, so what's your motive? You trying to impress the police officers, your officers? I mean, who are you trying to impress here? And when you say the public and the community, because that's what you're saying. Look, I want the community to know. You ain't talking about black folks. You know what I mean? Right. You're not the way you presented your. So that's not conveying trustworthy motives.
So procedural justice looks like this: initial stop. Hey, how you doing, sir? How are you? Hey, do you know that's courteous? That's courtesy. Hey, sir, how you doing, sir? Hey, do you know why I stopped you? I have no idea. Well, here's why I stopped you, man. Because of X, Y, and Z. Right? You really shouldn't say, "Do you know why I stopped you?" But if people don't realize they have the right to remain silent, I mean, it's unfair. That's actually not fair either. You should actually say, I stopped you because you got a tail light out or you were speeding. Okay. And so, hey, but here's the thing. Don't worry. This thing's going to go to court, X, Y, and Z right now, or it's going to go to court and it's going to be subject to somebody who's not anybody that it's not my boss or anybody. This is a third party thing here. All of these types of things, if you have a gripe, it goes to a third party. We have nothing to do with it. We're not paying for them. We have nothing. So if I'm wrong, this independent investigation is going to say that, and I will be held accountable for that. I just want you to know that. And then when that result comes out, sometimes the officer is going to be right. Hopefully more often than not.
Right.
The police officer actually is right because that's the way it should be. It shouldn't be that they're found to be lying all the time. Right. You see what I'm saying? So we want them. We don't want them to be right if they're wrong. That's not what I'm saying. If they're wrong, let it be known. Right. But we need to see some justice being done. Some of these officers being held accountable for the things that they do, because those are the things that produce trust. So what you said was treat with respect. Give somebody a voice. Hey, I don't think I like what you're doing right now, sir. Exactly. What you're doing is not okay. Exactly. Give somebody a voice. And then you need to have some accountability and transparency. And then you need to have good rapport. Is that the fourth one? Produces good rapport.
Conveying trustworthy motives. And here's the icing on the cake. Community-oriented policing. Like when the way the individual police stop you is when he don't know you, right? But in community-oriented policing, you know your community. You know the people in your community. So if my tail light is really out, and we have procedural justice, we have community-oriented policing. Police officers see me with my tail light out. Just say I'm a community member, driving, my tail light is out. Police could drive alongside me. Hey, Cornelius, roll down. You know your tail light is out.
Get that fixed, brother.
You know and you move on. And you move on. That's because we know each other and we're there. I ain't trying to use that as a reason to stop and investigate you and here's look at you as a criminal and all of that.
Here's what happens. I watch these videos all the time. These police officers say something, and here's the deal: when you become a public servant, you are part of putting that badge on any kind of uniform. Anytime you're in a position of authority, you have people gonna say F you. People gonna talk about your mama and do all that. And you have to be able to say, man, that don't mean nothing. And keep doing your job without losing your cool. But the problem is there's pride involved. And when you should back down, man, F you, I ain't doing nothing. Okay, perfect. Then you're supposed to back down and not let that make you get out of hand or whatever. But that doesn't happen. And hopefully with this new leadership that we have coming in, with more people getting on board for wanting to fix some of these things, we will have some more accountability. in place. It looks really hopeless, I think, a lot when you look at the enormity of the situation. But I think if, for me, one of the things I try to remember is that, number one, the battle's not mine, it's the Lord's, right? And really the reality is that you and I can only do as much as you and I can do.
That's right.
Sister Tasha can only do what she can do. Mika can only do what she can do. And Kenya and everybody else, Councilmember Montgomery and her communication staff preparing, they can only do so much. And if each person does what he or she's supposed to do, we're going to be fine. But we're out of time. I just wanted to, real quick, we talked in the beginning about your mentoring program. Can you say the name of it one more time? What is the mentoring program called?
Oh, it's called it's on a CalFIP grant, which is Violence Intervention Prevention Grant, and basically, we're Santa Youth Development Foundation is a program that. So
there's really no name.
We're doing it under the design of community mentors.
Okay, right? So community mentors.
Community mentors.
And if anybody wants any information about that, just leave a comment because we both get the comments, and if I see it before you do, I'll tag you or whatever the heck, so that you can let people know.
We need mentors.
Need mentors,
need interns to get involved also.
Interns and stuff. And then the other one I wanted to plug is Homework. That's a program that I started for formerly incarcerated men and women that want to get jobs in the trades. Our next dinner is coming up on the 22nd, which is this Wednesday, coming up at 6 p.m. at Pillars of the Community, 6443 Imperial. We have a great relationship with the San Diego County Building Trades Council with Tom Lemon and Carol Kim. Just want to send a shout out to Tom and Carol for the work that they've done. Real quick, I just want to read a text message I got today. One of the gentlemen that came to our program when he first came home, we got him connected. I'm not going to mention his name because that's just not the way we do it. But he said, "Hey, Jason, what's good, bruh? Well, I go down to join the union tomorrow. So by Monday, I should be sworn in." Boom, he said. And so this was after, "Hey, I want to take this $24 an hour job. And I'm saying, "Well, man, maybe we shouldn't do that. Let's go to the union. Let's get a union job that'll pay a little bit more later. You might have to take a little cut right now, but like we're looking at benefits and a pension and setting yourself up for like later. If you end up working 30 years, you want to be able to retire and not have to do anything. And that's not going to happen if you're not in a union job." So he waited, and he said, afternoon, he texted me today, man, at 3:00. He said, "Afternoon to you. It's official." He said, "I'm glad we talked and you convinced me to go union and not the flash in the pan. Thank you." And so he's with the union now. And this is after becoming a part of Homework. And and I said, "Bruh, I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to have met you." Is what I told him. I said, "You're a breath of fresh air." I said, "We will go far. I'm with you, bro, all the way." And he said, "Appreciate you, my brother." So one of the things we do at Homework, there's two parts to Homework. One is the job placement part, because when a person comes home, they need to work. But the other part is the actual personal development, which is the homework part. Because when you come home, you need to work. But sometimes before you can work, you need to do homework. So we're in the process of setting up a weekly meeting where we get together with folks that share the same background. Homework is a place where when you have a felony, you don't have to sit in the back. You can sit up front because the place is made for you. That's people that don't have felonies, we don't want to. I mean, we want to help everybody, but we really don't. We want to help people with felonies. That's who we focus on. So you don't have to feel ashamed. So you want to have monthly homework meetings where people can deal with themselves, and we're going to begin to roll that out. Hopefully in July, we'll begin to do that. So we're looking for a place to meet. We already have a couple of facilitators, and so we're looking to do that. So just shout out to everybody that's helping with Homework. Super appreciate it. Appreciate Tasha for providing the county resources for people that need certain things. Sometimes going to work, person needs boots and some of those, or residents or something like that. Tasha really is good with that. Layla has been incredible at making the flyers, giving us a place to go, making sure the food is catered. And Khalid Alexander at Pillars, thank you so much to everybody at Pillars that's helping with that. And to Tom again, Tom Lemon and Carol Kim from the San Diego County Building Trades Council. So just a lot going on, man. Again, brother, really appreciate the time that we get to spend with one another. Thank God for you, Tasha. Thank you, sis, for interacting the way that you have today. Love you a lot. I appreciate you. Look out for Surviving the Encounter, something we began working on 1.5 years ago. We need to roll that back out. Well, Tasha brought it up. We didn't. So thank you for that, Tasha. And we'll make sure that we get that rolling. But to everybody that took time to listen, or those that will listen later, thank you. We'll see you all next week. We love you. God bless you. And
God bless you. Yes, yes. We didn't get to Joe Biden, but
we're gonna get. We'll sock up Joe Biden next week. Love you guys. Take care. In the stream. In.